There's one ingredient that can help you rebuild muscle mass even if you never touch a dumbbell. Let me share some scientific insight with you. When we reach our 60s and 70s, our muscle mass simply stops growing, a condition we call sarcopenia. The term sarco means muscle, while penia refers to lack or deficiency. Another name for this condition is anabolic resistance. As we age into our 60s and 70s, we lose our ability to build muscle, anabolism, and our bodies begin to deteriorate. However, this entire process can be transformed by one single ingredient. In this discussion, we'll explore which ingredient this is, how muscle regeneration works, how it overcomes anabolic resistance or sarcopenia, where you can find it, and what dosage you need. Following that, we'll discuss something revolutionary and brand new in this field, something that benefits far more than just muscle development and represents an even more significant breakthrough. What is this mysterious component? Creatine. Yes, we're talking about creatine. Creatine is neither a steroid nor a passing trend. This compound has been studied for decades. While technically classified as an amino acid, your body doesn't process it like a typical protein or amino acid. It handles creatine differently. Your body actually produces creatine naturally. It's manufactured from 3 amino acids. Your body converts arginine, glycine, and methionine into creatine. These building blocks combine within your kidneys, pancreas, and liver. All 3 organs participate in creatine production. Once created, it travels through your bloodstream. Remarkably, 95% of creatine ends up in your muscles, while the remaining 5% goes to your brain. In both locations, it functions as a rapid-charging energy reserve. When your muscles need to move, whether you're standing, rising from a chair, or climbing stairs, creatine provides assistance. Let me explain the energy process briefly. Most of us know that ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is our body's true energy currency. When muscles contract, they remove a phosphate from ATP, creating ADP, adenosine diphosphate. But have you wondered how the phosphate gets added back to ADP, or AMP? This is where creatine becomes essential. It supports ATP production, reloading your energy currency. When your muscles need extra power, it's like activating a backup power system. Throughout your entire life, your muscles have depended on creatine, and your liver, kidneys, and pancreas have been producing it continuously. So why do seniors need to supplement with creatine? Here's the crucial point: aging involves many changes. We've discussed the deterioration of insulin receptors extensively on this channel, but that's not today's focus. As we age, particularly approaching our 60s and 70s, our body's ability to produce creatine declines. This results in less available fuel for your brain and muscles, representing one of the subtle causes of age-related muscle loss. Moreover, while exercise remains crucial, most seniors don't move enough to boost their natural creatine levels, as this requires increasing amounts of stimulation. In your 20s and 30s, visiting the gym once or twice weekly might have been sufficient to encourage muscle growth. Not so for 60-year-olds. People in their 60s and 70s should begin incorporating daily resistance training. I personally do it twice daily to activate muscle growth. I'm referring to small amounts of resistance training. This is where supplementation becomes valuable. Taking a small daily dose of creatine can restore what aging has gradually depleted. It's like filling your gas tank before a road trip instead of running on empty. Can you obtain creatine from your diet? Absolutely. The best dietary sources are red meats and certain fish types. Consider beef, salmon, and herring, my favorite small fish. A typical steak might provide 1 to 2 grams of creatine, and we need 3 to 5 grams daily. That steak gets you almost there, which sounds promising, right? Here's the challenge. Most older adults aren't regularly consuming enough of these foods to maintain optimal levels, especially as their bodies produce less creatine and their dietary needs increase. Appetite tends to decline with age. Digestive sensitivity increases, reducing absorption. Additionally, many seniors intentionally reduce their intake, particularly of red meats, due to concerns about heart disease, high cholesterol, and saturated fats. Others adopt more plant-based diets, which are excellent in many ways but contain virtually no creatine. When we combine these factors with the body's declining natural creatine production, we're left with a deficiency. Your muscles are demanding power, and your internal supply simply cannot meet the demands of your brain. This is why creatine supplementation can be transformational. Creatine isn't a drug or complex treatment. It's simply a tablespoon or scoop of powder added to your daily routine, the same substance your body already recognizes and uses. A daily scoop or tablespoon suffices. No major dietary changes, macro tracking, calculations, or personal training required. I typically consume about a tablespoon and a half to provide my body with the nutrition it's been quietly requesting. This small action can yield significant benefits. You might wonder exactly how much creatine you need. For most people, the answer is straightforward. Are you tired of hearing that your lab results are normal? Dr. Ford Brewer, a YouTube sensation with over 600,000 subscribers, is dedicated to helping you optimize your metabolism and overall health. I want to know if you're with me as you watch this. If this content resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Also, mention your country in the comments so we know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. My team provides free clinical consultations to design a program specifically for you. Real data, real care, and real results. No guesswork. Call now to take control of your health. The answer is 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate daily in one small scoop. This is the most reliable, straightforward, and thoroughly researched form available. You don't need anything fancy with creatine. No breaks necessary. No cycling on and off required. Simply mix it in. I add some to my coffee. Mix it into any beverage and drink it. Recent research shows older adults using much higher dosages, around 25 grams per day. But that's only a loading dose, referred to as a loading phase. Researchers have used this to help people accelerate creatine uptake into their muscles, like filling your gas tank before a road trip. These studies involved older adults in their 60s and 70s taking 20 to 25 grams for approximately 1 week before returning to their regular maintenance dose of 3 to 5 grams. The results were successful. These individuals became stronger, increased their lean muscle mass, and had higher energy levels, particularly when engaging in mild resistance training with resistance bands or light weights. The main question you might have is this safe? They tolerated those high doses quite well, with no significant side effects, liver damage, or kidney damage. These people were satisfied, had good numbers, excellent lab results, and witnessed tangible outcomes. To be clear, you don't need to take that 25-gram loading dose for a week. In fact, don't do it unless you've researched thoroughly and understand the specifics. Starting with just 3 to 5 grams daily, 2 to 3 teaspoons or perhaps a tablespoon and a half, will still produce excellent results. For most people, especially those who don't exercise much, 3 to 5 grams per day is the sweet spot. It's safe, easy to take, and continues building strength over time. As I mentioned, I simply add a heaping tablespoon of creatine monohydrate to my morning coffee. You need to stir it well, like everything else. You must adapt to that. It doesn't significantly affect the coffee's flavor. Some people want to add it to protein shakes. However, I have concerns about protein shakes because I recommend considering a low-carb diet as you approach your 60s and 70s. This is because most of us, more than 3/4, have declining insulin receptors and reduced capacity to metabolize carbohydrates. Most people don't realize that highly processed powdered proteins can be rapidly converted by your body into carbohydrates in that form. Protein shakes are also a common source of stealth carbohydrates, carbs you didn't know you were consuming. If you're following a ketogenic diet, this tends to disrupt your state of ketosis. Carbohydrates aren't necessary for creatine absorption. The bodybuilding community uses creatine extensively, and there's a widespread belief that you must consume carbohydrates for proper absorption. While you can improve your body's creatine absorption by adding a small amount of peanut butter, milk, or yogurt, you really don't need to consume many carbohydrates. If you're concerned whether creatine works with a low-carb diet, the answer is a clear and definitive yes. It won't interfere with your diet or raise your blood sugar. One thing to remember: avoid mixing it with prune juice, regardless of what you combine it with. Prune juice contains many carbohydrates and has been specifically linked to gas, diarrhea, and other gastrointestinal side effects. What about kidney concerns? For years, many people worried that creatine might stress the kidneys. Where did this originate? The body can convert creatine into something called creatinine, which sounds very similar to creatine and looks almost identical. The body can alter creatine to produce creatinine. When examining kidney function, doctors look at creatinine levels. As creatinine levels rise, kidney function declines. Consequently, many physicians concluded that kidney function was deteriorating after noticing elevated creatinine levels in some creatine users. This made sense until you realize later that it was artificial creatinine. When you examine other kidney function indicators and parameters, it becomes clear that creatine doesn't adversely affect kidney function. The kidneys can safely process creatine. Again, just because it's a byproduct doesn't mean it's seriously harming the kidneys. This concern has been thoroughly studied and isn't a problem. Are there other potential side effects or issues with creatine? What about the liver? No, nothing serious regarding the liver. Yes, as I mentioned, you may experience gastrointestinal side effects, bloating, and similar symptoms, particularly when consuming certain foods like prune juice. You may also experience mild dehydration because as muscles absorb creatine, they're stimulated to absorb water as well. Therefore, when taking creatine, ensure you drink adequate water. During the first few weeks, some people experience mild gastrointestinal distress and irritation. You move past that in a week or two. Take it with food, divide your dosage, taking half in the morning and half at night. You won't notice this in a few weeks, and most of us aren't even aware of it. Dehydration is possible, as I mentioned. This deserves serious consideration. If you take diuretics, water pills, or other blood pressure medications that cause dehydration, you should be slightly more aware of the potential for additional dehydration. When taking creatine, consult your doctor before taking any blood pressure medication. In this type of dehydration, creatine draws water into your muscles from the extracellular space, the area between your cells. These are all minor issues, especially compared to creatine's benefits. Speaking of benefits, I mentioned earlier that some people are beginning to document a benefit from creatine that may be even more significant than muscle growth. Here it is. Science shows that creatine can help you gain muscle and feel stronger even when you're not exercising. That's remarkable. However, to experience the full benefits of becoming stronger, more stable, and more energized, especially if you're over 60, you must incorporate movement and resistance training. Wait, we're not discussing heavy weights or daily gym attendance. Many 60-year-olds I know do that, but it's not necessary for our discussion. We're only discussing basic resistance training and daily exercise snacks. Use a resistance band, soup can, water bottle, or even your body weight pushing against a wall. It can be very simple and easy. Combine this with creatine supplementation. This is crucial. Let me demonstrate with average chair squats. Simply getting out of a chair and sitting back down intentionally. That sounds simple, doesn't it? It sounds like very little. However, it strengthens your thigh muscles, large muscles in your legs. We call them the quadriceps, calves, and hip muscles. Focus on strengthening these large muscles because they support your metabolism as you age. They help you stay upright and prevent falls. They're the ones you use for mobility. Your ability to walk, climb stairs, get in and out of cars, maintain balance, and prevent falls all depend on these muscles. People say, "You're too technical, Ford. Explain the process step by step." After sitting in a stable chair with your feet flat on the ground, cross your arms in front of you or extend them for balance, then stand up. We covered the sit-stand test in a previous video. We were moving quickly. This was done to assess the same muscles in the legs, hips, and thighs. This time we're discussing training them gradually, 5 or 10 times in a row. Try that. This is really simple and straightforward for most of us. That's all resistance training is. Just you and a chair. No machines, no weights. When you combine creatine with this type of very easy, simple movement, your body actually responds much faster. You begin preventing the anabolic resistance, sarcopenia, and muscle loss that occur in our 60s and 70s. Strengthening becomes easier. You're now replacing the muscle your body is breaking down. You recover more quickly. Your step feels more stable. Your fall risk decreases. Most people don't realize that these muscles improve how our mitochondria function, helping with metabolic diseases and energy burning. You also enhance the capillary component of that muscle, your capillary density. Why are capillaries so important? Our insulin receptors are located in the capillaries. Most people don't realize that we actually begin losing those muscle capillaries as we develop prediabetes and diabetes. We're losing the space where our insulin receptors reside. How can you restore that? Resistance training, leg training, and resistance snacks. Here are additional suggestions for the upper body. Basic wall push-ups. Simply lean against a wall and push, like a gentle upper body push-up. I do floor push-ups if you're capable of those. You don't have to start there, though. Split squats. Simply use a chair to strengthen your legs and improve balance simultaneously. Light dumbbells can be used. If you're already beyond light dumbbells, it's very easy to add slightly more weight. Even yard work, particularly digging, is significant. Digging matters. Hour after hour, grasping that large shovel and pushing down, pressing your entire body against it. In terms of senior health, that's important. You don't really need a gym. You don't have to exhaust yourself. Spandex isn't necessary. It only takes a few minutes a few times weekly. Depending on how strenuous and intense the exercise snack is, some people recommend trying it more than 5 times weekly or even multiple times daily, as I do. Go ahead and do that once or twice weekly, even if you have really strenuous exercise sessions. However, to overcome that anabolic resistance, get some easy, gentle, non-intense exercise snacks a couple of times daily, especially as you enter your 60s and 70s. The failure to regain muscle mass has multiple consequences. Naturally, maintaining your independence, walking more easily, getting out of bed without complaint, and carrying groceries without second thought. Indeed, reducing falls is another crucial benefit you'll see mentioned online, because you typically die within a few years after falling in your 60s and 70s, especially if you break a hip. Therefore, preventing falls is also essential. However, the most important point, something no one truly considers, is that muscles are more than just appearance. They're more than aesthetics. They serve more purposes than merely moving you around. More than anything else, muscles serve as your body's most vital internal safety valve against the things that kill and disable us. Undiagnosed prediabetes. Strong muscles result from excellent metabolic function. You're exercising them. You're doing high-intensity interval training with them. Their capillaries are excellent. Those insulin receptors have places to reside to remove sugar from the blood. They actually prevent malfunctioning insulin receptors, avoiding the need for excessive insulin and preventing the cycle of cardiovascular inflammation from starting. You'll notice significant improvement when you combine creatine with a small amount of resistance training. Creatine performs at its peak when used and stimulated. Returning to the comments, I mentioned there might be something more significant than muscles. It might be your brain. I hear people say constantly, "I started seeing you because I was afraid of having a heart attack. Now I'm much more concerned about cognitive decline from Alzheimer's or stroke." Why am I mentioning this now? Recent studies on creatine and cognitive function, the process by which your brain maintains your mental sharpness, have begun. Remember, we discussed how muscles control 95% of creatine. However, that remaining 5% is crucial. It's residing in your brain, and there's a reason for it. Sometimes your brain consumes even more energy than your muscles. Every time you try to remember something, maintain focus, or simply process what's happening around you, your brain is burning fuel. In certain circumstances, your brain uses more energy than your muscles. Many people find this difficult to understand, but it's true. How does creatine relate to this? Like your muscles, creatine replenishes ATP, the energy currency. Creatine is present to restore the phosphorus that ATP loses. Phosphocreatine returns that phosphorus to ADP to create ATP. You feel energized again. Scientists then began wondering what would happen if we gave older adults a small amount of extra creatine, given that it aids brain energy production. As it turns out, some incredibly fascinating things occur. One meta-analysis demonstrated that creatine supplementation enhanced memory, particularly in older adults. Yes, exactly. Actual improvements in cognitive function and short-term memory in older adults. While not all research has observed this, the overwhelming majority of studies in this field demonstrate significant improvements. Others see smaller effects, but the pattern continues. The greatest benefits of creatine supplementation were seen in older adults, those in their 60s and 70s, and those who consumed less meat. Why is that? Are you tired of hearing that your lab results are normal? Dr. Ford Brewer, a YouTube sensation with over 600,000 subscribers, is dedicated to helping you optimize your metabolism and overall health. I want to know if you're with me as you watch this. If this content resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Also, mention your country in the comments so we know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. My team provides free clinical consultations to design a program specifically for you. Some of our most popular programs include complete telemedicine care with prescriptions, one-on-one consultations, and lab work. The Metabolic Reset program offers nutrition and exercise plans, weight loss, longevity, and increased energy. Personalized guidance from an excellent team of dedicated health advisors. I personally select and train them. In fact, only select patients have the option of working directly with me. Real data, real care, and real results. No guesswork. Call now to take control of your health. Well, Those are the people who typically have lower brain creatine levels in the first place. As a result, the brain absorbs supplements like a sponge. In some circumstances, such as when you're feeling particularly stressed or have had several nights of poor sleep, this becomes even more important. Research has shown that creatine can help restore mental clarity and reaction time during periods of brain stress, such as sleep deprivation or cognitive fatigue. Creatine's effect on cognitive function is significant. In other words, creatine acts as a battery backup for your brain when its energy levels are low. Will this make you a chess grandmaster overnight? No, it isn't that simple. Let's be practical. If you want better focus, improved memory, or simply fewer moments when you enter a room and ask yourself, "Why did I come in here?" this is worth noting. Pay attention to creatine. It helps cognitive function. Don't overthink it. Simply begin, because each scoop represents a vote for increased vitality, strength, and mental clarity, ultimately leading to greater independence and better quality of life. If you're over 60 or care about someone who is, creatine may be the easiest, safest, and most underappreciated way to stay strong and sharp without completely disrupting your life.